Mental health it can happen to anyone. It's like a physical illness.
I struggled a lot with my mental health when I was a teen all the way to my early 20s, mid 20s.
I think there has been an increase in prevalence globally, and Singapore is no different. The Singapore mental health study, which was done in 2010 and repeated again in 2016, there was an increase in prevalence between both the studies, and highest increase in prevalence was in the age group of 18 to 35.
We've started to see a lot more complex cases coming in for help over the past probably 3 or 4 years. Issues with complex trauma, issues with suicidal ideation, issues with complex family situations like abuse or very messy family backgrounds.
In my practice as a family therapist, I've actually noticed an increase in the number of young adults coming here to seek help. I think there's also reports in the news that we hear of there's a growing suicide rate among the youth.
Suicide rates have been actually on the rise from 2018 all the way to 2022 for the age group between 10 to 29. But we are very heartened to know that for 2023, there has been a sizable drop in suicide numbers and suicide rates across all age groups. But yet, I think we should not be too complacent because we don't know at this point in time whether it's a one-time drop.
There are a lot of developmental changes that happen. Puberty, hormonal changes, brain develops at a very rapid pace in this age group because it's preparing for adulthood. When we have seen young people seek help and chat, things that keep coming up are peer-related issues, family-related issues, and academic stress, and of course the mega trends, climate change and the wars which are happening, and it affects the economy, their job prospects.
Becoming an adult, it's unlike flipping a light switch. You do not suddenly become an adult overnight. And youths are navigating, they're trying to find their place, as it were, in society, finding their place within their peer groups. And then, of course, if you layer on the pandemic and related issues, that can become extremely overwhelming for a young person.
Some of them may turn to social media for information, for knowledge, but I think a lot of them turn to social media to seek for connection, to seek for validation. But as they look at the different Insta stories and they started seeing that their lives are not quite the same, and that may actually bring forth that voices of self-doubt, and then that it could increase the level of anxiety, right?
Where we are headed to is really a space whereby young people don't experience tough things. And that doesn't allow them to build a high level of internal strength when it comes to adversity in life. And when mental health issues hit and life really hits you like a truck, you may not have the internal resilience to bounce back from that without external help.
One of the first things that gets affected are your functions like sleep, your appetite gets affected, energy level, mood. The other thing is finding it difficult to concentrate. So if you're in school, your grades start dropping. If you're working, you can't concentrate and you're taking a long time to do the same job. If these continue to last for a long time, beyond maybe 2 or 3 weeks, relationships get affected, then that would be a cause for concern.
If we feel extremely overwhelmed and when we are in a distress mode, when stress becomes severe, prolonged, or both, then we have kind of crossed that threshold.
Using certain labels, you hear of people calling certain generation the strawberry generation. I think such labels sends very subtle message that only weak people or weak ones can experience mental health difficulties.
He or she might consume a lot of social media, watch something on TikTok, and say, hey, perhaps that works for him, it works for her, it must work for me too. I think it's important for the young adult to discern what might work best for him or her.
I think one common misconception is poor mental health equals to mental illness. So they would then go on to misdiagnose themselves. It's like, I got depression. No, you're just going through a very tough time, right? Then what they're doing is that they're labeling themselves. And that label can become reality.
Most youths are still turning to informal social support network to cope with their mental health struggles. So I think on this note, we need to continue programs or even efforts to increase the mental health literacy among the adults, among the educators, or even parents.
We have seen an increase steadily over the years of young people seeking help, and almost majority, 90%, seek help on their own. They're not kind of asked by their parents or asked by their teachers or counselors to come.
We need to lower every single barrier to care, like costs, confidentiality. One big area of confidentiality is parents' consent. And we do think that it's important to have parents on board, but we also recognize that it's very difficult for a young person to have to deal with those issues and then bring up the courage to seek help and then have to ask their parents for consent. It gets worse if the parents are actually active contributors to the poor mental health.
Stigma is a barrier to help seeking in Singapore as well as internationally. And I think in our Singapore context, it's somewhat unique because it's kind of mixed in with our notions of self-reliance and hard work. We still have this notion that academic performance is of critical importance. But at the same time, we know that parents desire for their children and adolescents to have a balanced, holistic education and life. There is that tension and that dilemma, right? I think some young people worry about coming forward with more open sharing and reaching out to get help because they are fearful whether that might jeopardize their future.
My hopes are really that mental health is treated like physical health. That would be a big victory for all of us working in mental health.
My hopes for the mental health space will be that we'll continue to innovate, work collaboratively across agencies and hospitals and different care providers, and professionals are willing to do what it takes for their clients and patients to get better.
Seeing individuals and families being able to seek help readily without feeling being judged, without feeling the stigma, that they see seeking help not as fixing themselves. It's just a period in time that they are dealing with very difficult things and that they need additional support.
That is building and having a more empathic society. And it's important that we have both a top-down as well as a bottom-up approach. I hope that we are able to create what I call positive cascades, positive spirals. And I sincerely hope that you and I, each of us, will not think that we are too small to make a difference.